meet my bride. Let's go for a ride in my newfangled automobile. Just where we will go, nobody knows, but it's sure a great way to feel. Behind the wheel of the speed meter steel, it's my newfangled automobile. Hello and welcome to Vintage Car History. I'm Wild Bill. When I was in the Navy, I recall some of my shipmates being sea lawyers. These guys would spend too much of their free time studying how to use the legal system to get out of all kinds of things. And when a ship is out to sea for weeks at a time, sailors do need to busy themselves somehow. And prisoners often do the same thing. You know, they'll study law out of boredom and then submit court cases that now real lawyers have to deal with. Yet in early car history, there was a lawyer so bored with the profession that he turned to car racing. So let's take a brief look at the career of Charles Jarott. He was born in 1877 in the suburb of Pimlico, part of Greater London. His father, Robert, was a skilled laborer, worked at a local foundry. Charles was his fourth child and only son, and so he strove to provide his son with the best education he could muster and be the man to elevate the family name. Young Charlie was a gifted student and was placed into an educational path that would make him a lawyer by the age of 21. By 1896, young Jarott was studying at Cambridge to the great pride of his father, and he also saw the very first London to Brighton run that was held in November of that year, and he got bit by the car bug. The United Kingdom was about to truly enter the motoring age, and that was way more exciting than studying law. And so Charles began to wander off his legal studies and become a racer. He began with a motorcycle race. Indeed, among the first races dedicated solely to motorcycles in Europe. Riding a machine built by Henry Fournier, he won the race held in Surrey in 1897 and was from that day on a complete petrolhead. He quit school entirely at this point and drove into the racing scene, acting as secretary for racing and trial event organizers, as well as racing on the track himself. At the same time, he worked with the builders of the cars he raced with the intent of becoming a dealer himself. He reasoned that if he drove someone's cars to success on the track, then he could use that success to sell the cars from his own showroom. He wasn't the very first racer to do this, but he was amongst them, and Jarott could pull every penny possible from every race. Thus, he was one of the pioneers of racing sponsorship. By 1900, he was a known racer, and Panhard and Levasseur wanted him to race for them. So the arrangement was made. P&L provided the cars and team support, and all shared appropriately in the purses gained. And for the next few years, he represented that brand on the track and brought them some success, including a win at the 1902 Circuit des Ardennes. At the same time, he had his business in London, so that if you wanted to buy one of his race-winning cars, just let him know what color you'd like it painted. By 1903, car racing was changing. Indeed, Charles was one of the racers posted at the 1903 Paris to Madrid, and thankfully survived the event. He did participate in some races afterwards, including the 1903 Gordon Bennett. Other companies became interested in sponsoring his work, and in 1904 was sponsored by de Dietrich, the concern of Baron de Turckheim, who had a young upstart engineer in their employ, a certain Ettore Bugatti. and liked the idea of making fast cars. Jarott raced for over a dozen makes of cars, and whenever he was sponsored, he began to sell their cars. And his showroom in London was one of the biggest of its kind in the world. He didn't become a lawyer like his dad intended, but he was inducted into the Order of the British Empire, married a countess, and built the financial model for racing sponsorship for generations to come. His work in World War I, in the Royal Flying Corps, and between the wars are tales worth to read, but are beyond the scope of this channel. But for now, know that when you see all those stickers, logos, and names all over a race car, it's because of one bored lawyer that wanted to drive fast with someone else's money. Thanks for watching Vintage Car History, and we'll see you next week. Peace.